and she didn't want to go through no divorce. She didn't. I talked to her about let's go get a divorce. She didn't want to hear it, and we went to the uh, I guess you say attorney, and he told both of us he didn't want to do our because neither one of us at the time needed a divorce.
Okay. All right. And you said you made a mistake that night. That's
Yes, sir. When I got out of bed, when I got that phone call, that was my worst mistake.
Wow.
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 That's
The gasps you heard in the gallery are from the victims who are just stunned when he says, "The worst mistake I made was picking up that phone call, not shooting both his ex wife and her friend." He killed both of them. They were separated. He hunted them down and in cold blood killed them. Yet his mistake was picking up the phone call. Now, he committed this crime in 1998. He was given 2 life sentences, but he is asking for the board to ask the governor for a commutation of his sentence. He doesn't want to spend the rest of his life in prison. It is always shocking to me when we can see someone who not only commits the crime because we know that they exist, but it never ceases to amaze me, I should say, how they just seem to have no empathy, no insight, not even the ability to fake empathy or remorse. It's always startling and it never ceases to shock me. Now let's jump in to this Louisiana commutation hearing.
My real name is Elery Clement Jr. Everybody calls me Pete. And DOC number is 401293.
All right. Pete. So I'm going to read some identifying information into the record and ask you if it's accurate or not. So, Mr. Clement, you are here today seeking a commutation of your sentence. You were sentenced in July 1998 in Livingston Parish for 2 counts of first-degree murder, and you received life on each of those sentences, and they are to run consecutively. Is that information correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. This morning, your case has been assigned to Mr. Prater, seated to my right. Would you answer his questions?
all right, Mr. Clement. Good morning. It's 10:07, so it is still morning time.
Yes, sir.
We need to find out. Tell me briefly what you did to get you there so that I acknowledge the crime for me. And then take a little more time and tell me what you've learned since you've been incarcerated and how you're, most folks say I'm a different person. I'm not the same person I was. Tell it, if you're not the same person you were, tell us what's changed and kind of give me a little background on you.
We're going to start with how the crime happened. Me and my wife was having some problems, and I assumed she was seeing somebody. And I was at home one night, took off a week for deer season, was home in the bed sleeping, and got a phone call. So when I got that phone call, somebody tells me they see her automobile parked in a parking lot. Did I want to go check it out? So I did, and go down there and sit there. Well, I wasn't sure that was her car at first, so I said, wait a minute, I got the key on my side. So sure enough, the key fit the door, and it was her car. And same time, I said, well, I'm just going to hang out here and see what's going on, who brings her back, and that way I'll know if she's seeing a man or whatever. So sure enough, this guy pulls up in a Toyota truck, 3 of them, and she's sitting in the middle. He gets one on the passenger side, gets out. He's not going to get out, but they reach over and kiss at that time, and that's the time I walk up, and I carried a gun religiously. I'm not going to say I didn't. I carried it everywhere I went for my self-protection, and at that time we got into it and had a few words, and first thing you know, gunshots went off me, and that was, so I realized what I'd done and drove on back to the house and called my sister and had them take me on to the jail. And so that's about that on that part. But you want to know what I've been doing since I've been up here and think I'm a changed person?
If you are, I don't know if you've changed or if you need
Well,
to change, that's what I
Well,
want to
I
hear.
say I've changed. I don't know if the age has something to do with it. You know how you slow down when you get a little older and take things and you go to thinking before you do stupid things. When you look like when you get a little age on you, and I've reached that point where I've made that. I guess reached that age where I stop and think about things before I jump and do it nowadays.
Okay. All right. Is the warden in the room with you?
Yes,
Would you tell us what kind of inmate he's been since you have known and since he's been in the institution?
since I know Mr. Clement, he has been a very respectable inmate towards staff. He works at the Mule Barn. He's a minimum A trustee. He take care of the Percheron horses. Those are the horses that you see in the different parades. He drives the wagon for both the rodeo and different parades that we have during the holidays. He's able to go out to the parades in St. Francisville and drive the wagon, and he also participates in the hunt parade. He only had 5 DVs since he's been here, and the last one being in 2018. He also on our Point Lookout Committee, which where we bury the inmates here at the institution, and he drives the hearse for that, which is pulled by the horses. Since I've been here, I had the pleasure of going back to the Percheron Barn and meeting him. We bring tours back there. He's very knowledgeable of the horses. He let the tour guests know what type of horse they are and what they do and stuff like that. He know them by name and they know him also. So I can say that the years that I've been here and I've been knowing Mr. Clement, which we call him Pete, he has been a very good inmate.
Okay, all right, thank you, thank you. All right, Mr. Clement, tell me, before we get into the question, one thing you didn't mention was any programming that you've had since you've been there.
I have been in 100 hours in the anger management program I completed.
Okay. I noticed you didn't mention the victims any. Family of the victim.
No, sir. I didn't do any victim awareness class because I was told at the time I didn't need but the 100 hours. I didn't know I should have took the victim awareness class.
Okay, well, we're gonna ask you some questions in a little bit. We'll come back, and this isn't your last time to talk to us, but I want to move on now to, we'll go over this, the folks that are here and on Zoom. You've got supporters, 4 supporters, 3 of which will talk. Kevin Clement will be on Zoom. Peggy Clement and Channing Blake are going to be, well, excuse me, Peggy Clement will be speaking and she's here. Jimmy Cone, a friend of yours, Con, is not going to speak, but he's here. And then Channing Blake with Parole Project will speak on Zoom. So let's go ahead and start with Kevin Clement. Mr. Clement, are you on Zoom at this particular time? Okay, tell us what you know about Ricky and what kind of just tell us something to help us make our decision.
Yes, sir. My name's Kevin Clement, and I'm a cousin of Pete Clement. He's just a down-to-earth, good old man. Give you the shirt off his back. Yeah, he admitted he made a mistake, but he won't be a burden on society. He has a place to go if the good Lord's willing, and he'd get released, and people to take care of him, family and friends. And he's remorse for what he's done, and he's done good things in Angola, learned from the mistakes, but if you find it in your heart, just make your decision.
Okay, yes, sir, we'll do that. Thank you very much. We
Yes.
appreciate your input. We'll move on to Miss Peggy Clement, the daughter-in-law. Miss Clement, you're here, correct? Okay, would you talk to us about what you got to say?
My name is Peggy Clement, and also Mr. Coon here did want to speak. I don't know if it's not allowed to, but.
Would you speak up, please, ma'am?
Okay, Mr. Coon here did want to speak today. I don't know if it didn't, or he can, I don't know, but he was prepared.
No, ma'am, we got 3 people.
Okay.
Speaking already on.
Okay, so my name is Peggy Clement. Mr. Pete's my father-in-law. I met Mr. Pete when I was about 13 years old, way before he was ever my father-in-law. He was my friend's Uncle Pete. We would see him on weekends. He worked the back gate at the racetrack. As a young girl, I could sense, as a young girl, you can sense within, who is safe and who is not. And he felt like someone, like a dad, like someone you could go to if you needed help. And it wasn't until years later, he became my father-in-law. I've been married to his son for 25 years. Since he's been incarcerated, he has been a model inmate. He has also always chosen to work. He's a very hard worker. Even at almost 75 years old, he has an extremely physically demanding job. He works with and trains with purse-drawn horses. He pulls the red wagon at rodeos, and he pulls the wagon for prison funerals and takes care of the horses daily. I don't think that there is a higher status, inmate status, than where he is. He's allowed around the public. He goes to parades. People come from far and wide to see him at the rodeos. Little kids run up to him to see Mr. Pete riding the red wagon. I'm not here today to tell you that my father-in-law is an innocent man. He got caught up in a bad situation and made a really terrible mistake that cost him everything. It's not something that he's happy or proud of. And even after 29 years, when I try to talk to him about it, he still gets emotional. I know it sounds awful to say, but he loved her. And he grieved her for years, and I know because he told me. At his trial, his attorney thought it was best that he didn't speak. He's not a good speaker, wouldn't be a good witness. But I think that also robbed him of the ability or the opportunity or chance to say he's sorry. And it robbed all of the opportunity to hear his story. My father, my dad, this is my dad too, is a good man. I don't think this crime should define his whole life. I know what he did was wrong, I know, but he means so much to so many people. And to the victims and your families, I'm truly sorry for your loss. I hate what he did, but I love him dearly. I hope one day you can forgive him. But if not, we understand. Something like this happens, it affects everyone that we've all been serving time. We've all served about 29 years so far. And when there's someone in your family that's an offender, we get a stigma on us too, the family members. There's people that don't like me just because he's my father-in-law. And I understand. We live our lives worrying about him. He calls us every single day to make sure he has the ability to do that. All it takes is one missed phone call and the whole family goes into panic. What happens? And his uncle was a phone down or something like that. But spend time with him. We attend every rodeo. We travel back and forth, just be there because of the horses. You know, it's an inside joke that we pay for tickets to go to Angola to work for free because my husband and our whole family goes and helps get the horses ready and make sure that he's safe with the horses. So that other inmates may not be as familiar with horses, and we just try to help, and it gives us opportunity to be with him in a more normal setting. I can't express the difference this would make in our lives and how much this would mean to us. If there's ever anyone who deserves a second chance, it's him. And by second chance, I mean a second chance because he doesn't have a record. This is not a second, third, fourth, fifth chance. He doesn't have a criminal record. And I've been told time and time again by different people, by guards, by correction officers, by people that meet him, you know, he doesn't fit in here. And I know he does, but he doesn't. My father-in-law is not a threat to society. We could only have 3 people speak today, but I could literally fill this room with supporters and family and people that love him. Not just old relationships. He's also formed new relationships. There was a family from Texas that came to the rodeo last year, and since then, Clint, Rachel, and Dally have become second family to him and to us. Dally is an 8-year-old rodeo queen and insisted on coming to every single rodeo since just to see.
Excuse me, Miss Peggy, it's, would you kind of wrap your remarks up, please,
Yes,
ma'am?
yes. We have full accommodations for him if you were able to grant this, and I'd ask for grace for him today because he's a simple country man. And I'm not sure he's gonna be able to fully articulate what he's trying to say and thank you for this.
Thank you. We appreciate that very much. Mr. Channing, Blake, would you tell us what you got on your mind?
Good morning to this honorable board. Channing Blake with Louisiana Parole Project on behalf of Mr. Clement. We just want to inform you all that if you guys decide to give him a favorable recommendation today, that we're going to provide him transitional housing, social norms, consumer skills, and more. And then we'll also assign him a reentry specialist to guide him through his reentry process. Thank you again for your time, board.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Right. We'll move on to the opposition now. We have some folks here, Christina Kitchen, Kayla Kitchen, Sean Kitchen, George May, Laney Carr, Alexis Taylor, Leslie Motachek, and Donald Motachek, and I said most of those names probably wrong. So I apologize, but that's the best I can do. And let's see, I believe 3 of you will be speaking, and Miss Alexis Taylor is the assistant DA, and so we'll let her go last. She's on Zoom, and I believe the rest of you are all here. And so we'll start off. Which of the 3 of you that are here, between Christina, Sean, and Leslie, who would like to go first? And if you would approach the podium, I guess this podium, correct? Or just approach the podium in front of you. There you go. And I'm sorry, but that television behind you went out just yesterday, and we had to get it fixed. Yes, sir. Go ahead and tell us who you are and what you got on your mind.
All right, my name's Sean Kitchen. I'm the son of James Russell Kitchen. I'm referred to him as Rusty throughout this little deal. I'm here to speak to them on behalf of my sister Christina, my mother Carolyn, and our entire family. I was only 3 years old when Pete Clemens murdered my father. My sister was only 7. We never had a chance to grow up with our dad, hear his voice, feel his hugs, or to know the love and protection every child deserves to know from their father. Hell, I've never been able to hear my dad tell me he loves me, you know, or even tell me he's proud of me. Stuff that the opposition gets to hear whenever they feel like picking up the phone to contact me or him contact them. Doesn't seem too fair to me. Pete Clemens not only took that for me, but he took the lives of 2 people that day. He murdered my father and an innocent woman, Miss Kay. Not only did he kill 2 innocent people, my uncle witnessed these acts and having to hide from being killed by him as well. This has been a life sentence on him also. These were not actions, they were deliberate acts of cold-blooded murder. The pain Pete caused did not end that day. It has lasted more than 20 years. My mother, Carolyn Kitchen, has carried a deep, unending grief. She has been in and out of mental and drug rehabilitation, never fully recovering from the loss of my dad. In truth, we lost her too. When Pete killed my father, he didn't just take one life, he tore my family apart. I'm now an adult, I'm a husband, I'm a father. My wife Kayla, she never got to meet my dad. And neither will my 5 daughters that I have. My sister's sons, Joseph and Bean, Justin, they'll never know him either. My children and nephews will only ever know my father through stories told by other people, because we don't have them. And then faded pictures without us in them. Our families have lived every day with that emptiness. We understand that Pete is now older, carries a Bible, serves as trustee in prison, but that does not erase the lives he destroyed. Trustees may appear responsible and change people. That's because they're watched over by guards daily. Hell, I'm an outstanding employee when safety's standing over my back. Good behavior in a controlled environment does not prove that he is safe or that he has truly changed. While his family may hope to welcome him home one day, ours never will. My father's grave is the only place that we can visit him. Justice must still mean something. He was sentenced to 2 life sentences with 2 lives taken, and their sentences should remain in full effect. In my opinion, it should have been an eye for an eye. His breath for my dad's breath. When Pete was sentenced by a jury to life in prison, it was a promise made by those we put our trust in daily, our justice system. Please do not place disappointment in our justice system as another punishment for our family. Please do not grant Pete clemency or pardon, parole, whatever is going on. Granting him so and giving into something a murderer is requesting, while in the situation he brought onto himself, would only deepen the wounds our family has carried more than 2 decades. I'm sure my father begged for clemency that night. Pete Clement sentenced him to death. No judge, no jury, just the execution. My father, Rusty Kinsey, cannot speak for himself, but I can and I will continue to do so. I will close out by saying this. My family has already lost too much. We are still serving the life sentence Pete Clements gave us when he murdered my father and Kay, along with the emotional lives of her family. And the emotional lives of her family, along with my mother, my uncle, my sister, and me. Also, any chance of our children getting a future with their papa. Pete should be content with the consequences he faces each day because of his action that night. He should have gotten the chair, but instead is given the chance to breathe each day, be able to have friends, be able to speak to his family, be able to love them. For us to have to be here today and deal with this all because Pete wants clemency is a slap to my face along with the families affected. And it should be viewed as so. Thank y'all for hearing my words and thank you for standing for justice.
Thank you, sir. We'll take those remarks into consideration, and I'm sorry for your loss. Okay, who would like to speak next in the family?
I'm Christina Kinchin, daughter of Rusty Kinchin. There's nothing that I'm gonna be able to tell y'all that y'all haven't heard many times before, like it's a repeat cycle, but I was born a daddy's girl and forced to become a grieving daughter at 7 years old instead. Nobody prepares you for the silence that follows losing your dad, or how it feels to reach for your phone before remembering he'll never be there to answer. Or how birthdays, holidays, and random Wednesdays can all hurt the same. I still look for his face in the crowds, and I still wait for his advice when life feels too heavy. I still hear his laugh in places he's never even been. He was my safe place before I knew what that even meant. He made everything better just by being there. I've been trying to learn how to live in a world that keeps spinning even though mine stopped the day that a selfish coward decided to make sure we never saw him again. Believing I will see my dad again does not change the pain of him not being here now. He will never see or hear the voices of his grandchildren, and he won't be here to walk his only daughter down the aisle. I'll always be his little girl, but living with a heart that had to grow up too soon. He gets to call his family whenever he wants to. We don't have the pleasure because of the actions that he decided to take. And I don't care how good he's been in prison. You have no other option. I mean, there's nothing else to say.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate that. And we'll conclude the remarks here before the Assistant District Attorney talk with Leslie. Please, you're going to speak now.
So, he was my mother. And what I have to say here today is I'm just here for something today that I never imagined that I would be. And the sheer audacity, what my mother's murderer is asking. It just astounds me. Too many of us have to be here to do this. She doesn't get the luxury of asking for anything. Rusty doesn't get the luxury of asking for anything. Their sentence was set in actual stone by this man who thinks that he's spent enough time here for what he's done and is ready to move on with his life. He's the one that made the decision to take their lives away forever, and part of ours went with it. And he wants his back. It doesn't seem fair, it doesn't make any sense to me. He can get out at some point, live free, sit on his porch, drink coffee, visit with his friends. And we don't get to do any of those things. I would love the opportunity to sit with my mother. And among other things with her, I would love to be able to do that I'll never get to. But he gets to make phone calls and he gets to tell people how he's feeling today. My mother doesn't get to do that. Rusty doesn't get to do that. So mine's a lot shorter, I think. Basically, just sum it up, a life sentence is exactly what that says. It's life. And he has 2 life sentences. And as long as he has breath in his body, then prison is where his life should be, and it should continue to be here.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate those heartfelt comments and we'll take them into consideration. We'll move on now to Miss Alexis Taylor, who is the Assistant District Attorney. Ms. Taylor, would you?
Good morning to the board. Of course, the state stands opposed to him being released. Again, you know, this was a first-degree murder. One of the prescribed consequences for this particular crime is the death penalty. Mr. Kenshin, the defendant here, Mr. Elery, has been fortunate enough to avoid the death penalty. 2 life sentences for taking 2 lives is actually a bargain for him, and very unfortunate for the family. Mr. Elery said some things in opening, you know, basically telling us he laid in wait for this victim to return, for these victims to return. He shot them both, and reading one of his statements from the time of the investigation, he said, and when he started coming toward me, I shot him and my wife. By that time, she done got out of the middle and run to the car, and she started running back over there toward me, and that's when I shot her. So not only did he shoot her, she grabbed at me. I'm pretty sure she had grabbed at me, and that's when I shot her again. The defendant had no remorse for his actions. Again, the 2 life sentences I think are more than appropriate. He should not be granted any leniency at this point. And also another thing that was very concerning for me when he started speaking is the fact that he had taken no classes as relates to the victims. You know, he had taken his anger management, but as it relates to any victim classes, he didn't take those classes because he didn't think he had to take them. Not that he was even concerned enough to do it voluntarily. And so for those reasons, the state would certainly oppose his being released and ask that you deny his request.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate that very much. Thank you. We'll move on now back to questioning Mr. Clement. Mr. Clement, I'll ask the first questions and then we'll turn it over to the panel here to see if they have any questions. And I don't have a lot to ask. How long have you been in prison?
I got up here December of 98. So, from December of 98 to right now, you know, that's how many years that would be. I'll be locked up. I'll be
Around
locked.
27 years. That's okay.
I'll be locked.
Go ahead.
I'll be locked up 29 years next month on the 12th.
Okay. All right. And so you were given 2 life sentences and you served 29 years. Let me ask you, in your initial interview, you said y'all were having problems. Were y'all separated?
Yes, sir. We had been separated a week or so before and she didn't want to go through no divorce. She didn't, I talked to her about, let's go get a divorce. She didn't want to hear it. And, we went to the I guess you'd say attorney, and he told both of us he didn't want to do ours because neither one of us at the time needed a divorce.
Okay. All right. And you said you made a mistake that night. That's
Yes, sir. When I got out of bed, when I got that phone call, that was my worst mistake.
Wow.
well,
Wow.
that's okay. All right, and you hadn't taken any victim awareness, and I noticed that you didn't really talk about victim awareness, so I'm not gonna pry it out of you by questioning you if you're aware of what you did as far as the effect it had on victims. So, that's correct. You have not taken any victim awareness, correct?
No, sir. I was advised when I decided to take to put in for clemency that I didn't need nothing but the 100 hours. I had already completed the anger management, and that's why I didn't go any further. A classification lady told me that's all I really needed.
Okay, I don't have any other questions, Madam Chairman.
Any
I
other
do.
questions?
Okay, first, before I start anything, when I was reading the letters, I do want to mention, many of y'all said y'all didn't get counseling. So we have a Louisiana Crime Victims Reparations Fund. And you can go through your sheriff's office or your DA, she may be able to help you with it, but the time has not run out. It doesn't. You just have to say you didn't know about it. But they will pay a certain amount of money for each one of y'all to go to counseling, okay? So I didn't want y'all to leave out of here and not know that's available for you. And secondly, to Mr. Clement, I mean, your statement about everything to do with the murder was really it was jealousy and it was a rage and it was intentional. And you have a total lack of remorse about that. And because you didn't mention any of your own children or the children of I think he used to be your friend, there seems to be a total lack of remorse for the crime itself, which was 2 cold-blooded murders. So that's all I have to say.
Mr. Green, any questions?
No.
I don't see any other questions. I think we're prepared to vote. Mr. Prater?
My vote is to deny this request and suggest that you get some victim awareness and that you have some programming. If it's of any interest to you. If it's not, then we'll see you again here with no programming.
Mr. Freeman?
My vote is also to deny. 2 people lost their life, and I mean that's too much. So my vote is to deny.
Mr. Tillis?
My vote also is to deny.
Mrs. State?
My vote is to deny. 2 innocent people lost their life, and I saw a lack of remorse and no programs for victims.
All right, Mr. Clement, today your application for a commutation has been denied, so good luck to you.
We have seen dozens of parole and commutation hearings for people who have killed their significant other, and something that's common in it. And you'll see this when you watch like jailhouse prison documentaries where they're interviewing someone. They'll say, "What did you do to get here?" And they'll say, I found my wife in bed with another man and I lost it. And then, like, I remember seeing these things and you listen, man, I might have done the same thing. Man, it sucks. He's there for life. But you realize by watching these parole hearings that that's all a bunch of BS. If that truly did happen, they'd have manslaughter or something, and it would, there might be mitigating circumstance, but it's never that. We have never ever seen that. Instead, it's always where a woman is trying to escape him and then whole make up that some excuse. Oftentimes they have restraining orders or they've been hiding from them. And it's this crazy psychopathic man who, I'm sure he's telling everybody my wife was in, and it's you learn a lot by watching these hearings. I was a little confused about all the people representing there for the DA's office. I'm not quite sure what was going on when, but hey, I guess, have them all there. I'm not going to complain about it. I just didn't understand what was going on with just one speaking, right? The lack of awareness. Who did you have? Was it Blake from the Parole Project sitting there to represent someone? Here's the thing that I think I've come to realize, like the Parole Project and all these programs, I don't believe they do anything to help the parolees. Like they don't visit them. They don't have a call with them and say, "Hey, this is what you're going to have to do to get parole." It's more like, "Oh, okay, you'll be a client. I'll show up and read my script," because you can't imagine that they're all so you see this over and over and over and over and over again. And we're going to see the Sir Richard interview, by the way, in a minute. So I left a timestamp or just jump in. But basically, like, okay, let me finish my sentence. They do this over and over and over again, right? Where people who they're representing come in completely clueless. And it is bizarre. It's like you didn't take a victim impact class. And the funniest thing is that these people, they need a victim impact class not to teach them empathy. Let's not fool ourselves. You can't teach empathy. They need the victim impact class so that they would know what to say and what not to say at their parole hearing. It's simply a class so that, and let's just be real about this, so that the public can be gaslit into believing that the person who may get granted parole has been rehabilitated. And when you let that sink in, again, it goes back to my prior point, which is why is the Parole Project not just writing a statement for this person so they could, accomplish that goal of faking it? But it's like, why? Why teach people who it's like you're in prison for a bajillion years, but you don't even know that you need to fake remorse, fake empathy. No, instead you need a program to teach. And these are the brains and the people that we're dealing with. And most people do not understand this is this fact that those who murder like this, most of the time, there's always exceptions, but the majority of the time they are not like you and me. They do not they can't even begin to grasp what empathy is. They're so but take a program so you can fake it now and then gaslight the community that you're safe to get out into the public. Anyways, what we're going to do now is watch the Sir Richard interview. We did this Saturday last week. Only like 800 of you have seen it. So like just nobody's seen it. And that's because, it's different than what we normally do. It's also a live stream. The algorithm, shadow bans that for us because we just don't do much of them. But if you've ever been wondering who is Sir Richard, you're going to get to know that now. So with that, let's jump in. While we settle in, and Sir Richard, I see you just entered into the room. I'm gonna drop you back down to the stage. I want to wait to give you a proper introductory. So All right, so let's go, right? You've all seen the results of Sir Richard's work, even if you've never heard his voice. Behind the scenes, he is the mind who digs deeper than anyone else, the guy who turns raw data into meaning, and who builds spreadsheets so advanced that I believe we can make a small fortune selling it to the Department of Corrections. His research, his precision, his obsession with getting all the details right, those foundations are what allowed us to cover parole hearings like no other channel on YouTube. And he's done all of this suffering through debilitating illness. And of course, he does it at no cost. Now, for the first time ever, the community will finally get to hear his voice, not just see his influence. So please join me in welcoming the man, the legend, who makes all of this possible, Sir Richard.
Good morning. How are you doing?
And good morning to you, Sir Richard, and how you be,
How what?
and how you be.
Oh, um, I'm here, so I'm alive. Wasn't in the obituaries this morning, so all good.
That's always a victory. Now let's go check on the crowd. Crowd, can you give us a thumbs up if you hear both of us and Sir Richard A-okay? All right, I see the chats coming in, and I want everyone to know while you're in the chat, if you have questions for Sir Richard, please leave it in the chat. We have our incredible mods who will pin it to the top or email it to me. So all of your questions will be answered. But to start, I think what is important to address, I think what many people are probably wondering, Sir Richard, which is how did you first find the channel and what made you reach out to me?
Well, I've always watched a tremendous amount of legal things because of my interests and stuff. So you just happen to have appeared in the whatever the hell you call that, where they're
The feed, I suppose.
yeah, feed. Okay. And started watching you and appreciated the fact that you really seem to care a lot about what you were trying to point out in the how the system was broken, needed to be addressed and stuff. And after, I don't know, a couple of weeks of watching, I think, well, I might be able to give you a hand to give you some perspective to help you with your comments, because otherwise you were pretty much shotgunning it with just a little bit of facts where you could find them and not a tremendous amount, necessarily all the time, or at least in super depth. So I reached out, asked if you wanted some help, and initially you were a little hesitant. I'm guessing a lot of people scam. And I said, well, at least let me build you a banner. So we went in and talked about what you wanted, what your goals were, what your intent was, and just kind of put together the banner that we see, and then came up with, at that time you were only doing Louisiana, so came up and put together that avatar. So that was pretty much it. I felt that since I can no longer physically go out and address all the things that I've been addressing for 55 years, this still allowed me a behind the scenes way of hopefully continuing my life's work. So that's pretty much how it started.
And I think that is fascinating. When I go back to think about your first email to me, it was to draw me a logo and a banner. And how many of you in the audience knew that? Sir Richard is not only, well, he wears many hats. I think he's the most interesting man in the world. I would have memed that beer commercial, but AI told me that they would copyright strike me. But I was going to make that as the intro to the live stream with putting your face on the most interesting man in the world. But yes, Sir Richard is also an artist, and this is not his real face for those of you who are wondering, but he did draw that as a self-portrait of himself.
Well, and I can add a little bit of perspective to that too. Is I've had a service dog for decades because of my injuries and stuff. So my life essentially is half me and half due to my service dog that protects me, guides me, leads me around, etc. So that was the combination of this avatar. And by the way, I don't wear hats at all. It messes my hair, as you can see.
And Sir Richard has a sense of humor as well. I love that story. And I know your service dogs have always been Great Danes. Is that right?
With the exception of one Kangal, yes.
What's
And the Kangal was a massive dog, even larger than the Great Danes. And their history is essentially Russians in the Caucasus Mountains bred them, and they would put them out with the sheep, and they would guard the sheep and attack coyotes. A very, very dedicated dog to protecting its charge, which was one of the things that really drew me to the breed. And he was just absolutely fantastic. He is the only one of my service dogs that just had such an innate understanding of me. As you know, I was blind for many years, and in my right eye, I did not take to the transplant. So I can't see out of my right eye, nor can I hear out of my right ear. So he would, I train all my service dogs to walk on my right instead of my left, as most people do. But the Kangal is so intuitive that as we're walking around, if there was anything in front of us that he felt I might trip on, he would immediately draw his head into my abdomen. That's how tall he is. And just give me a light little nudge to kind of stop, be prepared, kind of look, see what it was, make sure I didn't trip. So that was the one thing he had over the rest of them. And he lasted for several years. I really felt like I was losing an essential part of my body when he had to pass. But yeah, the rest of them all been Great Danes. Yeah, and they're great. They're very, very good. But he just had that inner protective aspect because of their historical use of being responsible for guarding an entire flock. And in Africa, they would start importing them into Africa, the Boers did, to protect their flock from cheetahs. And if you look up Kangal on videos, Kangal versus wolf, Kangal versus anything, they are impressive dogs. Anyway, okay, yeah, Great Danes. That's
well,
what
I can hear the genuine love you have for that dog. So I have to ask, how come you didn't get another one of the same breed?
they're very hard to find.
Oh,
that's the main reason. We just happened to have. I was lucky, and we stumbled on to the Kangal. Well, Lorraine stumbled onto him, and it was just it was really impressive. But they're very, very difficult to find over here. We just got lucky at that one time. And Great Danes aren't the easiest thing to find, to get them in the right temperament and teachable, et cetera, but we have a lot more success with them.
So for those who are just coming into the chat, this is our 100,000 subscribers celebratory live stream. We're doing a voice reveal for Sir Richard, and Sir Richard explained how he first met me and reached out to me, and it wasn't to help with research; it was to draw me a logo. Sir Richard is the one who drew the first logo for the channel and the banner. And I asked him what's with his profile picture, which he drew himself as well, and he shared that it's half service dog and half him. His service dog is such a big part of his life. And Sir Richard, I think a lot are going to want to know your story. What was it that perhaps has made you lose your eyesight and your hearing? And we can figure out how to discuss this, but also what drives you to really and spend just countless hours researching at no benefit to yourself for this channel. So I know I want to know, and for all any of you wondering, this is the second time I have ever heard Sir Richard's voice. The first time was last week, and I only heard it because we had to test that his device was set up correctly. So this is very new for me, as it is for you, and this is very exciting. But yes, Sir Richard, we can go to maybe. I think a lot might wonder how it is that you lost your eyesight and your hearing.
Well, okay, I'll get into that, but let me answer the rest of that question first, because it's more pertinent to you and your channel. Yeah, I originally reached out offering the banner aspect, but it was always in my mind to finagle my way into researching for you, because I thought that was the one thing your channel needed in order to really grow by leaps and bounds over the rest of these people who are just copycatting the videos. And if with your real dedication to kind of pointing out the system, if you could be provided with a little bit more perspective, it would help you refine your comments and also to really give you the opportunity to present your best foot forward, which was your analysis, and not, no fear of pointing out what the system was that needed to be addressed and fixed. And that's the reason that I continued to do the research until, a few months ago when my eyesight kind of started failing badly again. I had to break off. Speaking of which, you may wish to introduce somebody in the chat. Diane G.
Oh, Diane. Is Diane in the chat? Hey, Diane. So Diane has volunteered to help with the research, and she's been working with Sir Richard behind the scenes, and she certainly has enough disabilities to qualify as an expert researcher for the Mandoo crew. And thank you, Diane. I'm excited and looking forward to seeing your work. And I think that's a good time also to make sure we give a tribute to Lady Holly, Sir Richard.
Exactly.
Lady Holly's really, she was such a big part of the channel. And every time I go through the spreadsheet and see her, I feel that she's contributing, even though she might not be here with us anymore. Her work will forever be with us. But as you all know, Lady Holly, I believe, has passed away. We don't have proof of that, but I think that's probably a fair assumption from where things left off. So, Lady Holly's not here on the stream, but she is here in our hearts and prayers and mind.
Yeah, she filled in at a time that was absolutely necessary to kind of keep things going, and really stepped up to the plate, adapted, and considering that her even more limited disabilities in some way, it's difficult when you only have one hand to kind of operate with, one arm to kind of operate with. And it was really sad when she got hit by the car. And it seemed like she was recovering in the hospital, and then she sent out that little note about that she had had an infection, so she was going to have to be there a little bit longer. And that was what, 2 months ago?
I think maybe more. Time
Yeah.
flies.
And since then, there's been no response from emails or contact or anything along that line. So, it's not a good sign. So definitely, and she is greatly missed. And we thank you very much, Diane, for stepping up, and together we'll keep this going. So thank you. Okay, answering to the other portion of that, when I was in high school, I lived right next to Nisqually Indian Reservation in Washington State. Went to started at St. Martin's High School and progressed through there, which was also about 95% were boarders, and I was one of the day students that was there. And I'm quite sure a lot of people have heard the discussions regarding priests with kids. So the two things that I came about was that the DHS or DCF, CPS, whatever the hell they're called in Washington State, would actively go into the Nisqually Reservation and take the kids out, remove them from their houses, and then pay double to any foster parent that would raise them. And of course, they said, well, it's the reservation is just too poor of an environment. It's not good for the kids. The underlying aspect was that the Nisqually were very, very, as most of the Native American reservation cultures were very in tune with ensuring that their history was passed on to their kids. Government does not like that, because you talk about cowboys and Indians, and their narrative is substantially different than the government narrative. So it was a way of pretty much trying to control future generations of their culture. And I found that extremely offensive. And had run into many of the kids off of that reservation that were friends, and just being in the neighborhood and stuff, and we'd discuss it, and I thought that was a terrible plight. So that was one thing that I kind of dedicated to. And the second one was when a friend of mine in high school had committed suicide because he had been abused and then teased on top of it, which again in the 60s was we didn't quite look at things quite the way that we do now as far as political correctness. There was no such thing. So being bullied was just a part of growing up and learning to deal with being an adult and putting up with idiots. So, but anyhow, it was a real hard experience as a teenager. And over his grave, I promised that I would fight that for the rest of my life. So that's why I got so heavily involved for the 50 some odd years of talking to victims and fighting laws and everything else to address child predators. And one of the nice things with the field that I ended up going into because of my training and knowledge and experience with the Navy, as soon as I had established my reputation, I immediately started my own consulting company so that I could pick offers in the states that I wanted to go to and fight. And so that's pretty much what I did. As far as the negative result from the service, I'm one of the few, if not the only, non-volunteer and all-volunteer submarine force. when I graduated out of nuclear power school and everything else, I was at the top of my class and actually went into the specialty field of chemistry and radiology. I call it engineering laboratory technicians. And very few people were going into that or would even be able to qualify through the educational aspect. So they weren't getting a lot of people out. And when you're on a submarine, you need to, I guess they figured they needed to have the most capable person that they possibly could, because you don't have a lot of backup on it. You know, it's a very complex field, but one that absolutely was just super in jive with my entire brain, math and physics and science, and you know, all of it just, it was there. You know, so they kept assigning me to a submarine, and at the time you were allowed to turn down 3 sets of orders. And I turned down the first one and said, I never volunteered for submarines. Because every time they would come up and ask, I'd say, I'm 6'7". Are you an idiot? I'm not going on submarines. You know, the last thing you could think about at my height is going on something that's built for midgets. Anyway, so I turned it down. The second set of orders was the same submarine, but the different crew. And I turned that down. Third set of orders was the same submarine and the first crew. And it's, you can't turn this down. And at that point, you know, I was raised military service as part of our duty to repay for all the benefits that we have and the freedoms that we have in this country. So, you know, you don't bitch, you don't moan, you go, you do your duty. And so that's how I ended up on the submarines. And essentially anything that has to do with chemistry or radiology, and radiation, the rest of the whole 9 yards, was my responsibility. And it's a massive amount when you're talking about a nuclear submarine. And we ended up on my last patrol, before we were due to go into the shipyard for a major overhaul, we had a problem in the reactor compartment where a piece of equipment failed. And when you're on a submarine, you don't have a lot of choices. You either fix the problem or nobody comes back. You just sit at the bottom of the sea. So anyway, we had to make an emergency at-sea entry, is what they call it, where they take the power of the reactor down to a certain level. You go in, you do what you got to do, repair it, you know, fix the leak, and get your butt back out. So anyway, we had a couple of other problems shortly after that too that required similar efforts.
What does that mean? To fix, sorry to interrupt, to fix the leak. So you had to go into a room full of radiation?
I had to go into the reactor compartment.
So you knew ahead of time going in there that you were going to have radiation poisoning?
Well, yeah, but that was my field. So I also knew if there was anybody on that submarine that had even the possibility of going in, doing it, getting out, and then trying to solve the problem of what I needed to do to have a life beyond living for another, you know, at max until I was 35 years old. You know, anybody else, there was just no chance. So that's why I did what I did.
I mean,
and
sorry, Sir Richard. I mean, this sounds like Medal of Honor kind of stuff.
No,
saving
it's a
submarine.
It's what you do. It's what anybody in the military at that time did. That's no more a Medal of of Honor or anything else than a Marine or an Army grunt standing in Vietnam and performing the services that they did. I mean, radiation, I knew I could survive it. I knew that I could figure out how to, stem its effects to a degree, or at least put them off. A Marine standing up in Vietnam, it can't necessarily survive a bullet. And no matter how good he is, when you've got snipers and stuff, you can't guard against that. So no, that's what the people in the military do. And that's why we should also be so thankful for the veterans that are out there. And not only them, but their families. My family has paid a hellacious price standing beside me and seeing, just what I have to undergo. If it had not been for Lorraine, there's no way that I would even be here today. As much as I know the science and stuff, she had dedicated her life to exploring the natural and the homeopathic aspects, so that in concert, the two of us can, have kept me alive. I mean, my longevity was estimated at best at 35 years. And here I am, double that, plus a few now. So, but no, that's not Medal of Honor. That's performing our duty. Then that's, what's the alternative? Not coming back at all, and being responsible for 100 people not coming back at all? I couldn't live with that, obviously. So anyway, yeah, I ended up getting a bit of a radiation, and I won't go into the whole reason of what the radiation does and how it affects the body and all that other stuff. But anyway, it's pretty much, giving me a systemic, ongoing, constant problem, for 50 some odd years, that occasionally flares up and just lays me flat. And that's why, again, with the consulting thing, it worked out so well, because I could time my length of contracts, and make sure that I could keep free periods. Anyway, but unfortunately, the biggest thing is that radiation interacts with the water molecules and those lighter molecules, which would be the ear, as far as the crystals that are in there, and the eyes, the viscous fluid. And there's water throughout. We're 80+% water. And I staved it off for many, many, many decades. But then right around 2000, things kind of came out of hand. I got thyroid cancer finally from it that was coming out. And luckily we caught it very quickly on, and so they just removed the thyroid. And shortly after that, both of my eyes detached. So I was just blind. All it was just blackness. But again, it was something that I anticipated, so I committed my environment to my memory, and most people couldn't even tell that I had any problem. As long as the kids kept the damn toys sitting out of the floor and not in the middle of the parkway where I'd trip over the damn things. And there's always been a firm rule: do not rearrange the furniture. So that's how all of that came about.
And for those who when Sir Richard says, how he prepared for it and then memorized everything in your house, I know that you have an IQ of 186, a photographic memory, and for those of you who might have any doubt of it, I have seen it time and time again. I would say Sir Richard Do you recall X, Y, and Z? It could be any random one of the thousands of parole hearings, and he within a moment will say, of course, this name, this row, this French. And I'm sure it's not easy living with a memory that good, even with the benefits that it has.
You can ask Lorraine about that one. I mean, when we were first together, we were sitting down in a restaurant, just kind of talking, because we both shared an absolute love of cars, which was a really great thing, and specifically Citroens. And her Great Dane had just passed away, or was at the end of his life, essentially. And she wanted to take him to the Oregon coast one last time, but was a little concerned that her, I mean, she anyhow, doesn't matter.
Christina in the chat said that don't forget to mention that Lorraine is also gorgeous. So we have to put that out there.
Lorraine, I'm fighting way, way, way above my weight with her. She is, yeah, absolutely. And, when she was in her 20s, she was actually offered a modeling contract. And she went down and interviewed for it, looked at all these people and told them to stop it. She does not tolerate idiots any more than I do. So again, but anyhow, when we're sitting there and we're getting to know each other, didn't really know much of anything. And I had made a comment to her that, I was just so blessed that God gave me such a mind. And she thought I was the most arrogant son of a bitch she had ever met in her life. So yeah, that was a little, aspect as far as tough to maybe live with, but it changed. And of course that didn't compare to about half a dozen dates later where I don't know, I could just see in her eyes how she was looking, and I said, look, you're really fantastic. I think you're absolutely gorgeous. You're fantastic. You got a great mind, but I'm a bad bet to fall in love with, because you're going to go through a lot of pain, because I'm not in the health into it. And she said, what do you mean fall in love? And then again, she thought, what an idiot. But it was there. We were both kind of hooked at that point in time. And, but I wanted to lay out 100% of what she was signing up for. If she decided just to not walk away, and she chose not to. And, initially a couple of times when she would go into doctor's appointments with me and stuff, especially, the first few months, she would occasionally have to stand up and just walk out, because it was just, it was too hard hearing all the stuff that was going on. And, she also kind of protected me for years and years and years, and probably still does, that when it really gets to her, she used to go in her, another room so I wouldn't hear her crying. Now at night, she goes out in the front yard, so, it still happens at times, but, we just try and be strong for each other. And she's, she's has not only a heart to take care of me and, but also spends time volunteering and driving, other people to doctor's appointments, and, working at food banks, and would also get a bunch of snack supplies that she would take down and to the VA clinic. But unfortunately that part has ended because they can't find anybody to volunteer to man the booth there anymore. And when they do find a volunteer, they don't let that volunteer pick where they're going to be. They put them wherever the hell they want to, which is usually over in the Summerlin or Henderson or some, the ritzier areas where I guess they figure they'll get their donations back or some damn thing, whatever it is. So, but she would always go with me to every doctor's appointment, and those that she couldn't take going in, she would sit out and talk to the vets, which just brightens their life completely. And also the service dogs, we trained them also when, I'd let them know when you're on duty, they would do exactly, I'd just say job, and they'd be right next to me and do what their job was. And then when, because I'd get in there, and at the time, when I can't see and stuff like that, I would teach them where the seating were and where that I had to go and stuff. I'd just say seat, and they'd find me an empty seat to sit in, and while Lorraine was parking the car, and then as soon as I, get there and settled, I said, okay, break, and then they'd go and they'd mosey up to some of the other vets, and it just it would brighten their days too. So, Bryden, so glad to see you. Anyway,
I just saw
did that
Brayden
answer
too.
enough?
It is great to see Brayden, and for those I don't know, Jesse, if you're still here, I don't know if Sir Richard's ever shown. Have you ever shown Jesse your your collection of cars that you'd worked on with Lorraine?
No,
Oh
no,
my gosh, yeah.
I
So I
haven't
mean,
shown anybody except for you.
right. So the Sir Richard and Lorraine build cars together, which is the coolest thing in the world. And they literally, I've seen the collection of cars that they have built, and they're exotic cars, they're foreign cars, they're the coolest cars. They really are so cool, and they build them together. Yeah, Jesse, you got to reach out to Sir Richard, um, and I think he'll be happy to show you the pictures. And just really welcome everyone in the chat who wants me to drop some memberships in the chat. Tell me yes, and I can drop some memberships in honor of Sir Richard here. And also, Sir Richard, I haven't shown everyone the medal yet. The YouTube plaque.
Well, I was waiting.
Now's a good time, right?
I think now is a damn good time.
All right, ready, everyone? Here it goes. Woo! Look at that. Mandoo. I never thought that I would hold this. 0.1%, half of 1% of YouTube creators get this plaque.
Yeah.
And Sir Richard, I do not believe it would have happened without the spreadsheets. It's what makes the channel different than any other channel on YouTube. And a special shout out to all of our mods who have been here since the beginning, all of our subscribers who have been here since the beginning. It wouldn't have been possible without any of you. So thank you. And I'm so happy to be celebrating this with all of you right now.
Yep, definitely the mods are a major factor in establishing the family environment in the chats. That is also part and parcel of what was necessary in order to get into the heavy amount of, welcoming and comforting and helping out victims of whatever crime it has been. And many, I don't think people have any idea how many of them have reached out to you and said thank you. But if it were not for the mad mods in some cases, just making sure that anybody that came up and started to, troll and re-victimize was shut down faster than whatever. So,
No, I mean, so Richard, I think you just said it best. It's about creating a culture. And I've always seen in our chat is known at just being welcoming, loving, and it's the Mozic are the heartbeat of the community and the channel.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's the Moz that define. And I just bought 50 memberships. There's 48 in the chat. I hope that it goes to everybody. I don't know how this works, but
Well, we can pretty much figure out that YouTube ain't going to give them to everybody.
no, right. I'm
There's
convinced they have a
many
place
of
in.
us long-term people that have not gotten any of the gifts in months and months and months. I mean, I expect it because that's, one of the reasons that I operate behind the scenes is that when I operate in front of them, I end up getting banned. So it is a pleasure to do it. And the 100K was the goal from day number one, in my opinion, was to get you up there. And all of these other little wannabe Mandoos that would pop up and try and live off your reputation, and within a few weeks or months, you'd see them just fall to the wayside like the chaff from the wheat because they have no concept of what they're doing. They didn't have any principle other than they thought it was a way that they could get money.
Yep.
That was not your motive. That was not your goal. I'm sure that it was important, and I know it was important because for your family to invest that time and effort with you, there had to have been some reason to make Mama Do smile besides those roses. So, but the main thing was the system.
At the beginning, I had no idea you could make money on YouTube.
Right.
Actually, I did not know. When I got monetized, I reached out to Biggin because he was helping mentor me on YouTube related things. And I said, should I even do the monetization thing? It's not, so worth it. He said, Mandoo, do it. I said, okay.
Yeah, by the way, I had actually offered him help too.
Oh, yeah?
But that was way, way back. Well, the same time I did for you. And at that time, he was trying to find his niche. And I thought at that point in time, he was kind of really going into the, CPS, DSF, but, those idiots that steal kids. And that's when I reached out to him because that was, as I said, the other motive force that I fought for 55 years was anyway. But
I think now would be a good time
enough
too
one for him.
We can give a plug to Dumb Criminals also. I think if y'all haven't seen his channel, he made our banners for us for Mandoo too.
Yeah, he's actually got 2 channels now.
Oh, he does. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
OTR, off the record.
Off the record.
Right. See, unfortunately, he ran into the same problem with Dumb Criminals YouTube algorithm. Remember when he was discussing that?
The algorithm. I mean, he's been stuck at 19,000 subscribers for 2 years.
Exactly. So what he did is he ended up without, directly connecting them. He started OTR, and that really off the record. That really progressed very, very quickly for him and got him up. And then, so that's why he ended up with 2 channels. But yeah, definitely, people should. He's, he does a really, really great job. And I really miss Bryden doing his slugs.
I miss it as well.
My 3 mainstays. Hopefully he'll come back.
I hope so too. I like to, it was always nice. It was the nightcap after my stream to head over to Brighton and watch some roaches.
Yeah. If he answers whether he's coming back, guys, I can't see that. So please,
he said I will be back, y'all. I promise. I'll highlight it here.
Right. I know it takes a lot of work for you to do it, Bryden, and again, you want help. All you have to do is say so. You don't even need to ask, buddy. It was so good to see you, brother.
Welcome to the family, Purge Girl. Thank you for joining.
Hopefully Diane got a membership.
I hope so. I hope so. But I feel like YouTube has a way of
Well, she's not known yet.
Right, that's true. That's true. So we discussed how you found the channel, how you reached out and offered to help by making a logo. I was skeptical at first. I thought, who's this scammer trying to scam me? But
Especially when I asked you all those stupid ass questions.
yeah, and I am very paranoid.
Right.
As you know, but something, and it's interesting because it's possible I wouldn't have even opened up to it, but you were, I guess, persistent enough, and it
Yeah.
started with the logo, and then it started with research, and then before I know it, you developed these insane spreadsheets that really do something. I think we do something that no other YouTube channel does, and we're able to do it because of the spreadsheet. And I think that we're creating some type of library that has true value and a record. So there's a record in the world for all the wrongs, all the good, bad, and ugly that I think is portrayed in a way that has never been portrayed before of the legal system. And there's also a record of how over spanning right now from over 5 years, we get to track hearings.
Exactly.
This never existed.
And right now, what even is putting that stronger is that we're starting to see that these parolees and people that they let out over the years, yeah, okay, fine and dandy, you can keep your ass together for a while, but you're a criminal. And they go back to criminals. And we now have the history of that. And we have the track record for it. And that's why, unfortunately, so many of these boards are shutting you down, trying to make it so that you cannot, track them and point out how corrupt they are, especially Connecticut. Connecticut took a great deal of offense when we called out that plot to let that illegal out before the new administration could get their act together. It didn't work out that well for them, did it?
No, it didn't.
See, it's things like that are why I get banned.
Well, I'm afraid that Connecticut's going to shut us down soon, if not try to sue us. But it's
that's all right. We can still do the same thing that I did with the Louisiana when they tried to change this legislation. I sent out the returns of victims making statements of how important the channel was, how it helped them with their voice. And if that's what we need to do with Connecticut, if they do come after you, I think that this latest one that you received is a death knell to them. Besides that, they have absolutely no constitutional ground to step on. Connecticut has a transparency mandate that they put into the Connecticut, board, and they can't shut it down. They, constitutionally.
Thank you, Poppy, for the $2 super chat. And it is what there's one thing that I'm very proud to say, and this might change because statistically these things happen, but to date, we have never had a victim or a survivor write me an email and say, please take my hearing down. That has not ever happened. I've only received emails from many that make my week, make my month. And they're coming in more frequently now, almost a few times a month, by victims or survivors who say, thank you for showing my hearing. And they're usually,
or you get it from like that CO,
right,
that corrections officer that was pissed.
Right. Or yeah, we hear back from people who
the predators.
Yeah. But the only people who want to take down the stuff are are pissed off COs or or chomos or
Right.
and
Those who don't like being pointed out that they're the evil in our society.
yeah.
Again, now you see why I kept getting banned from every place.
Well, it it is I suppose you're not politically correct enough for today's day and age.
I'm not narrative correct enough.
You're not narrative correct enough, right? Well, so what we've discussed. So you were in the submarine. The submarine was going to sink. You do what you have to do to get everyone back alive to save the submarine. You're infected with really radiation, which has completely altered your life. You've been fighting cancer. You've been fighting a debilitating illness. I can hear even you're doing a good job masking it, but I can hear the pain that you're suffering with every day. You lost your vision, you lost your hearing, but you've got vision back in one eye and one ear, and you've built these crazy spreadsheets, and you're doing all of this for an ideological reason, which you explained to us, right? How it's been your life, I guess, your life goal.
My
Going back,
commitment,
your life
my duty.
commitment, your duty.
Two things. I mean, I was raised, from honestly, my family history goes all the way back to the Mayflower. I am every aspect pure American, including having a grandmother on my dad's side who immigrated directly from Ireland. So, I mean, we have the everything that was there, the melting pot, plus those that founded this country. And the one premise that has always been passed down through our family has been the American ideal is God, family, and country, in that order. So those are the principles that I have always lived by. And as one of the precepts of God, as far as we are given such a blessed freedom in this country that we can do it, and as he said right at the end of his life, there is no greater thing that a person can do than give their life for others. And in that sense of religious duty has been why I dedicated to these. These are my people that I chose to sacrifice whatever I had to for them, and of course for my family. But so that's why I would always get involved in these. Whoever is interested in really keeping the advancements that we've been able to make over the 50 plus years alive in this. We haven't done so much lately as far as with the child services. I was hopeful at one point when that one supervisor was getting involved, but I think she felt the political heat too quickly from Utah, the roaming supervisor.
Yes.
Right.
What was her name? Christina also, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So, she just kind of broke off communication after taking up the torch on a particular item that was, I'm thinking, probably not politically astute for her to do. But anyway, make our advances and our inroads where we can. But,
And I know your family, it really is incredible to hear about your family tree coming in from the Mayflower, and then your family has fought in every war, the Revolutionary War, the War of Independence, the Civil War, the World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam War.
World War One, all of them. Yes.
So
Spanish American.
All of them. It's a
And
family.
I've got letters from them.
I've seen some of the letters and the pictures. You're a walking library or library and museum
Well,
of
besides our value system and stuff, because of the aspects of the concept of family, nobody ever threw a damn thing away. So when my grandmother passed away, one of the other things that I'd done when I'd take consultant jobs was I would stay in areas where part of our family was, so I could go in and research them on site and find out more and more about them. So when she passed, I inherited her trove of artifacts, letters, pictures, deeds, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it was 24 boxes filled with this paperwork and stuff. So much that it took up every inch of space underneath the pool table for a place to store it. So yeah, we've got lots of them. And one of my prized, of course, is the book that my great-great-grandfather carried during the Revolutionary War that saved his life when a Hessian soldier shot him, tried to attack him with his sword across the vest, and he ended up cutting that book, which is still bloodstained by him. It just, you hold the actual pieces of our history, and you can't help but feel connected to the greatness that the country is. You also can't help but also understand all of the lies that have been put out there for political advantage over the last decade or so, and how much our actual history has been corrupted and rewritten to a false narrative. But anyway, yeah.
That's an incredible art. To hold that artifact in your hand is remarkable. And to think, had it not been there, you would not be here, possibly. Is that
Exactly, that's part of it.
right?
If
It's
it were
just
not for that,
it's
we would have
remarkable.
lost.
I thought it would be a good time to show everyone who's never seen it. This is a glimpse at the Sir Richard spreadsheets. This is just one tab. This is just for Q2 of 2025. And you can see how thorough it is, how insane it is. I can show another example of Connecticut. And you can see well, this is also with Lady Holly collabing. But this is the thoroughness and insanity that we have in Sir Richard. And Lady Holly collabed in and joined in and put in and was doing an excellent job as well. It's just incredible. This is just one spreadsheet. We have many spreadsheets like this with many tabs. So I don't know how you do it.
More coming right now.
And more coming with one eye and one ear. And Lady Holly had one arm. And now we have Diane joining, who's recovering.
Hopefully she's not missing any body parts.
No, but I think she is recovering from a stroke. So but I thought as soon as I heard that, I said she's a perfect for this position.
Well, you can't have the depth of feelings that we do for victims without knowing a diversity and how to overcome them. Otherwise, you can't really talk to the people to a point and get them to understand that regardless of what they're going through, there is a light at the end. Just like this most recent victim that you wanted to do a interview with, who's still struggling after years. So we'll hopefully be able to talk her through. But anyway, and I think that that's one of the other nice things about the people that have congregated in the chat, is that a tremendous amount of them have experienced real things that would send people to their knees in absolute tears and devastate them. But instead of doing that, they chose to come in here, listen when somebody that's having a problem shows up, and help them through it. So it's not the typical chat that most of these channels have, where they just watch and they troll. Here, they watch, they listen, and they contribute. And that's the environment that the mods have been able to make sure has been set up and kept, no matter how many people have come in to try and destroy it. And there were times when we had a hellacious amount of trolls coming in from these other channels, trying to get them away from here. And the mods kept strong, kept it right. And, you know, anyway.
And consistent.
Yes.
Every day and every night. It is remarkable. And Sir Richard, I love this chat. I love getting to know you, and I think that everyone I've been reading their chats. I think now could be a good time to open up to questions if there are any from the community. And if not, we can finish with final remarks. Does that sound like a good plan?
Yeah, that sounds really good.
So, chat, now is your time to ask any questions if you have any.
What model Opal? Purge Girl, what model Opal?
Okay, so it's the car question. I love this car question. I have an opportunity to buy 1979 Opal, so we need to know what model. Is it worth $2,000? Well, I guess that's the important. We need to know what model, right?
Yep.
Out of all the questions I thought we might get, I could not have predicted this one, but I like it. A cadet, a cadet.
Do you, if you like the vehicle, I mean, really like it, and this is why we always chose the vehicles that we did. Is one, we specialized in orphans, which are cars which no longer have a marquee which operates in the United States. So if we don't take care of them, those are going to disappear. So they're historically there. But we also picked cars that really tugged at our heart, that we absolutely loved, which is one reason that we had a lot of Citroens. Their technology is just beyond imagination. So what they were building in 1955, we still don't have vehicles doing today. Our main travel car is a 1985 Citroen CX. And the reason that we can't get rid of it, because no matter any car, it doesn't matter, Mercedes, Cadillac, any of these things that we occasionally test drive as to replace it, they don't come close. I mean, you can take this car, you can travel all day at 90 miles an hour. And I'm really amazed I haven't gotten more speeding tickets than I have, because anyway, it doesn't matter. Great cars. And Edsels and the old Bentley limousines, Princess Austins, cars that you guys probably haven't even heard of anymore. But the main thing is, if it's a car that you really love and would take the total pride in being seen in the car, then it's going to be a good investment. However, you can fix a car mechanically, but the one thing you cannot fix is a car that has rust. There is no way you will ever get its structural integrity back up. It's the same like with people. You can try and help people out, but if they have a black heart, eventually they're going to fail. And it's the same thing with a car. You have to make sure that there's a little rust in the floor pan or something like that that can be patched and welded and fixed, fine. But anything, if there's rust on the rocker panels or any portion of that is a structural integrity of the car, pass it by. Because you'll never be happy. It'll always be causing you problems. It won't drive the way it's supposed to. It won't handle it. But if you like the way it handles, and you absolutely love an Opel Kadett and thought that they were the neatest thing since sliced bread. By the way, what the hell did they eat before sliced bread?
Right.
Then get it. I mean, if it had been an Opel GT, I would have said, "Oh, jump on that sucker," because it's a very limited car scene around anymore because people abuse the living daylights out of it. As long as it's rust free, the Kadett, if it really has some type of positive memory for you, then yeah, it's worth the $2,000. I mean, we've seen, people growing up, that would go down and buy, Ethan Allen furniture or, any, whatever the furniture happens to be and stuff. And yeah, what about it? But when we walk out and we sit down in our living room, we're in a museum. We always buy something that just is absolutely hits our heart. So we have, a sofa from Dubai that's, got the gold trim and the red, not the cheesy red. And we've got old Victorian hand carved tool, chairs, Chinese medicine cabinet with all those little boxy drawers and stuff, half moon carved tables. Our dining room table came off of a 100-plus-year-old Chinese junk with a lacquer red painting and carved legs, and we'll have them forever. One, they're never going to, falter on us, and two, you can't not be happy when you're surrounded by things that you like. So even if that $2,000 investment, one, you're going to drive the car around, you're going to enjoy that aspect of it, you're going to get more than $2,000 worth of it, regardless of what you get at the end. And it's a 1979, you fix it up, it'll be worth more than $2,000 in a decade or 2 decades or whenever it comes that you decide you want to get rid of it.
Well, I think
Hopefully that answered it.
You just sold it because she writes, "I'm buying it today" in all caps with the heart emoji. So I think you just sold it. Sold the car. And I couldn't agree more. I have a 1997 Jeep Wrangler, which I bought off of Craigslist for $800, and I'm still driving it today, and it brings me more joy than any other car, even though there's holes in the floor and it's like a Flintstone car.
Okay, incognito, I'm not quite sure I understand what you're asking.
I'm not sure I understand it either. So maybe we can get some clarity on that.
Are you talking about like plea deals or how the DA has total, override as far as what to charge and who to charge and stuff like that? Because we rail on DAs a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And by the way, if DA plea deals tick you off, you need to watch Judge Mogan in Wisconsin. She mandates that any plea deal that is offered, the DA has to argue in front of her why she should accept it and how it is a benefit to the community and to the victim. And it is impressive because at the end, so frequently she tells him to pack sand and refuses to take it.
I mean, of course, DAs are so many of them. I think maybe they got into it for the right reason and quickly became jaded. I don't know what it is, but it's like they've lost their way. They've become just so complacent.
I could give my perspective on this.
I think we would love to hear it. Yeah.
We saw a massive influx in 2020 in soft on crime DAs that were, George Soros put a massive amount of his money into organizing campaigns for DAs following that defund the police movement that came out as part of the George Floyd aftermath with Black Lives Matter and et cetera, et cetera. And these are people that believe, much like, Mandami, whatever the hell his name is, the soon-to-be mayor of New York, believes that, and that idiot Mayor Johnson in Chicago, both of them believe that prisons should be completely closed down. There's a Connecticut Parole Board isn't that damn far away from that, in my opinion, either. And the people that they let back out into the community with totally unjustifiable reasoning, all that does is put the citizens at risk. And that's what these people are doing. I could go into why I believe that they're doing it, but again, remember, I get banned. So you don't want to take my advice necessarily on it unless you decide you're going to fight for it. So anyway.
I think we can read between the lines. But I mean, certainly a lot of it is agenda driven. And I think that.
Okay. I'm sorry. When you're done with whatever you're going to say, can you please tell me what in Incognito's last thing was about something in Ireland? But go ahead and finish what you were saying, please.
Well, I think it was, it's nothing different than what I say on in my unpackings. It's how they're agenda driven, or how the system rewards win percentages versus anything else. The DA just wants to say, "Oh, I won 99% of my cases, and nothing else matters." Incognito says, Mandoo plus Sir Richard, we have no legal right to get background on people in Ireland in a lot of areas, but I feel it's basic right to see who they are, DA, DV, and all Chomo.
Right. Well, and I've had this conversation a lot with Holly, and also with dumb criminals, and actually a lot of people, and Canadians, etc. We're about the only country that makes the sex offender registry publicly available. And that was attempted to be shut down about a decade ago. And we organized against it to prevent them from it. And by the way, if you people don't think that every single vote counts, you're wrong. Everybody, if you see an injustice, the first thing you need to do is, it's so easy to contact your state your representative of either the House or the Senate, federal-wise, and write them a quick email. You get enough people to do it, and it changes. And it has an effect. We even saw it here in Nevada with this shutdown. One of our Nevada senators, who is a Democrat, felt so much pressure that she was compelled right from the beginning to vote to reopen the government. And she was essential in talking the other senator finally into crossing that line. But anyway, so it doesn't take a lot. Everybody does it, and you'd be amazed how many people believe that. Enough that if they would only do it, and it's very easy. All you have to do is they have their own contact information on their own little website. It's simple, 5 minutes, bam, you're done. But anyway, Canada under Trudeau early on, Canada used to have where you could get access to their sex offender registry. And he nipped that in the bud because that was a violation of their privacy. Screw their privacy. What about our kids? France, Europe, they don't allow it. Australia doesn't allow it. New Zealand doesn't allow it. England doesn't allow it. We are the only country, major, civilized country that allows that. And we allow it because one of our precepts here is protect our damn kids. And we fight for it finally when the kids come under attack. And right now it's bad enough that we have such a massive, massive increase in percentage of child predators. And at least we're getting rid of some. But there are certain cultures that don't consider it predatory behavior against children or women. And unfortunately, most of them come from the Middle East. And if you take into consideration, I know Somalia is in the news right now as far as this fraud stuff goes. But up until I think it was 3 years ago or possibly 4, it was not illegal in Somalia to rape.
Not illegal?
No, it's common practice. It was part of their culture. Women have zero rights. Children have zero rights. They just had a big argument in one of the African nations, Uganda, Somalia, anyway, whichever, because they wanted to change the legal age, establish a legal age where a girl could get married, and they wanted to establish it at 12 years old. And they had every imam come out against it because the principle of the religion has always been when they start puberty, they're ready for marriage. We can't have that. And that's one of the reasons that we need to really fight against the concept of Sharia law, which is being floated by far too many people. It is totally antithesis of every single American value, historic American value. And it puts our women and our children in danger. And those are two things that historically we have always felt were worth risking our lives for. But anyway, does that address it at all, Incognito?
I think it addressed it and then some. I was speaking on Incognito's behalf. Maybe Incognito will respond.
Well,
but
I mean, we're one of the few we're one of the we're the only country that actually has the absolute freedoms that we do. And people lose sight of that because it's a gift and not one that they've had to fight for in a long, long time. And they just take for granted that it's there. But you start talking to people from other countries, they can't do this stuff. I mean, Lorraine and I often talk about the fact that we are, we're different from any generation that has gone before us because in our age, we don't want to be young again. Neither of us want to have to go through and have to start from scratch in where our country has currently sunk to. But we also agree that, my God, we grew up in the absolute best of times. As kids, you didn't have any of this technology and stuff. So, hey, you're always out riding your back, playing kick the can until 9:30 or till you heard mom's whistle and had to beat your ass home before your ass got beat. And then in the 70s, we started with the introduction of computers and stuff like that, and all of the technology which has come from there. We really had, at that one point in time that had everything that you could want in life. You got through, you made your career based upon your merits, where people came to you instead of, submitting tons and tons of resumes, shouting out that, well, I have an advanced degree in gender studies. Well, okay, yeah, go flip a burger, But if you can, nobody proves themselves anymore. They don't know how to do that because they weren't ready. And a lot of it has to do with the destruction of the American family. That, you don't have the two-parent household. You don't have the strong values. You have the two parents that are forced to go out and work just to be able to survive. And the kids end up being latchkey, or whatever the term is that is used nowadays. And you don't get that guidance at home. You don't have that strong sense of family on a whole. Many families still have managed to keep that together, but they're generally kind of in the more rural or isolated type of a community where they can still kind of, do that. Anyway.
Well, she said you answered the question, and it does put things into perspective that America is the only country that allows it, and it's remarkable to think that it was almost not allowed. But for those like you and others who voted and had their voices heard, and I think, of course, it is incredibly important. I could see easily, it doesn't make any sense. There's no one, you would say, there's no one lobbying to remove it, right? Where's the money? And why would they ever protect the Chomo? But every other country protects the Chomo, and it's insane. It's a disease, but we see it in the parole hearings every day where the system is protecting Chomo. So it wouldn't be a far stretch to think that they would, do the same thing just by saying, oh, well, they no longer need to register for X, Y, or Z reason. It wouldn't surprise, I think, anyone here if that somehow happened in some state.
Well,
they would do it under the guise
have
of
it
somehow
happening in one
protecting
state
victims.
right now.
Oh, is it?
You have
Which
it happening in Minnesota.
Oh, are they trying to remove? I mean, if I had to guess which state, I would say Minnesota.
It's isolated areas. You've got a strong push for that in Minneapolis. You have a city in Texas that established itself as a Sharia city. And fortunately, Texas, you don't screw with Texas. So they passed a law that Sharia law cannot exist in the state of Texas. You've got Dearborn that is operating as close to a Sharia system as possible. You have Sharia courts in New York City and have for years. So this isn't some, right-wing conspiracy theory type of thing. It's things that have actually come into existence already. And as far as the biggest problem that we have right now is so easily curable if people would just pull their heads out of their asses and understand. The entire economic situation of housing, food, jobs, etc., is 50 million people living in this country that don't have a right to be in this country. And regardless of how you look at it, no country allows, well, okay, European Union has allowed it in most of Europe because they're pussies, but there's a general thing. You have borders for a reason. And to have unvetted people invade to the point that it is, those are 50 million people that are taking up the rental properties, that are taking up buying the homes, which puts the shortage that is there. If they come legally, vetted, want to contribute, yeah, that's how this nation was always built. But sneaking in the back door, and then so many of them committing crimes, not even taking enough consideration those that have been here, you know, that say they've been here for like 20 years or whatever, but don't speak a lick of English. That's not being here. Our principle was always based upon come to our country. We'd love to have you. We want to accept you. But if you're going to come to our country, kind of assimilate into our country so that you understand and you benefit from the benefits that drew you here. When you come but live isolated, and then, you know, you're not going to end up really getting that. And what it ends up doing is destroying the culture that we have had that has been a success for us for hundreds of years. And we have never been at a point where it is really possible that our system of government can fail. Because the one thing that has kept it together has been a two-party system, where you had one party which brought about laws with the hand of dad, you know, and you would have the other party that would amend those laws with the love of mom. We don't have that now. We don't have the love of mom out there.
And we're doing the one thing that we've avoided to do for 3 years on this channel, and that is talk about politics.
Well, you
But-
want to talk to me?
No, I
You
know.
the politics I have to weigh in order to fix the things that I chose as my target. I can't, you know.
No, I know. I understand. And for all of you in the chat and hello, Annan. I know Annan's in the chat. Annan has been helping a lot with the Louisiana hearing, Sir Richard, as you know. He gives me a daily summary emails, and so it's been very helpful for what he's been doing.
Thank you.
Yeah, and no, I get for those of you who don't know, Sir Richard and I, we talk on email. Again, this is only the second time I've heard Sir Richard's voice. We've never talked on the phone ever until a week ago doing this call, and then now. But on email, I do get Sir Richard's political debriefs and updates, and he's very thorough. He's very opinionated.
And right.
And right, of course. I'm not gonna argue with Sir Richard on I would lose the argument. So but
And I apologize. You know, unfortunately, recently they've kind of put my pain med on an hourly basis. So this has gone an hour and a half, and as the pain kind of gets more and more, my mind focuses on that and not necessarily trying to keep this Mandoo audience friendly and keep the politics out of it. So I will attempt to do that, but you know,
well,
if I slip, forgive me. It's my opinion that does not necessarily reflect the values or intent. What the hell is the rest of that speech?
right,
Of this channel.
yeah, something like that. That was
So
good.
you two go fuck yourself and leave me alone.
There we go. Christina says, "Go get your meds." Well, it's I think on that note, we probably, Sir Richard, we have gone, I think, half an hour longer than we planned. So maybe we can end on a final I don't know, on a final words of wisdom from Sir Richard.
I gave you my words of wisdom.
The go F ourselves part?
No, that was for YouTube.
Oh, okay.
If you don't like what's going on, take the 5 minutes or less that it takes to look up your federal senator or congressperson and tell them. It doesn't cost you anything. It's not like they're not going to still want you to vote for them. It's the only, you know, that's my word of wisdom. The other words of wisdom would get me banned again.
Right. Well, let's not do that. So again, thank you everyone for being here, for being a big part of making this happen. It all started really with just I don't know, just all of this together, just a YouTube here, a little hearing there, and it's grown to something I think bigger and more beautiful than we'd ever could imagine. And Sir Richard has been a tremendous part of it. There's no way the channel would be what it is today, where it is today, without really the insane dedication. So on behalf of, as if I could be the voice for the community, we all thank you, Sir Richard, from the bottom of our hearts. And thank you for being here. And thank you, Lorraine, for being a big part of you being here as well.
Well, yeah, major part. She really has gotten me through, and that's a word of wisdom. Pick well.
Pick well.
Your spouse. Pick somebody.
Oh, pick well.
Who will put as much effort into doing for you as you put into doing for them. There is nothing on earth that is going to give you more joy out of life than a partner that will work with you together. That's
Amen.
The words of wisdom. That and find God. Hey, if I want to run the political thing, might as well run the religious.
Might as well go
too.
with all of it.
Let's see, what other things you're not supposed to talk about that I can violate?
Yeah, what other tab? Let me go over all the YouTube terms and conditions. Let's try to get the channel nuked.
Anyway, it has been great talking with you, and it's been great visiting with all of you guys. And hopefully, now that we've found a way of getting at least a microphone in and stuff, maybe we can work on some commentary things together or something in the future too, just to not be completely out of sight, out of mind. So
I think everyone would love that. That would be fun to explore. And
I definitely want to thank you to Diane for volunteering and stepping up here, and I'll definitely be in touch again tomorrow with an assignment. And definitely to the mods. You guys are essential for creating the family that is Mandoo. So anyhow,
I second that. And with that, we will let you go.
Thanks. You guys all take care.
Parole for tape. No parole for tape. No parole for tape. Mandoo, sure can do. Mandoo, sure can do. Positive man, don't wanna be a saint, but every other sentence seems to be another gimmick. He wants justice and he will fight. Drags another roach out into the light. Mandoo, sure can do. Mandoo, sure can do. Gotta help Mandoo, gotta help us spread the news. All about a system that is really gonna skew. We want justice, we can hardly wait. My t-shirt says no parole for tape. Mandoo, sure can do. Mandoo, sure can do.